Hello there. I didn't see you there. That was random. How are you? You good? Great. Well, let's cut to the chase. Who are The Cure? What do they do? What is their music all about? What is the philosophical amalgamation of all their creative work mean? Not just to me, but to you. Well, today, we're gonna find out. Roll the titles. Basically, the beginning of our story starts in the late 70s, when, of course, prog rock was at its peak, but it was soon to descend, for good. And in its place, punk rock, or post-punk. Now, The Cure's story begins in 1976. Now, 5 friends at a local school, they form a band. This band, at the time, was called Malice. Now yes, Malice, a name like that is a bit, well, you know, devil worshipping. They soon rectified that by changing the name to Easy Cure. Now how they did this was, they used a hat, and they put a lot of different names in the hat, and what came out was Easy and Cure. Now, they used Easy Cure for a while, for a lot of their live shows. Eventually, they came to the conclusion they needed to change the name because apparently just having another word at the front of the name just wasn't good anymore. It wasn't cool. So that was out, and the replaced the easy part, and thus the name became The Cure. So you might be asking yourself, well, what happened next then? Well, lucky for you, you're just about to find out. When Imaginary Boys was released in 1979, the band's music was received as pop, which frustrated Robert as he didn't want them to be relabeled as a pop group. So the album also had songs omitted, but its US version had those missing tracks. While recording their second record, 17 Seconds, the band made sure the label wouldn't interfere with their records going forward, as they changed their style to atmospheric rock. The album became one of their most popular among fans, especially since it includes the only single off the record, that being A Forest. Along with its music video that blend their performance and footage of a real forest, it really gave that atmospheric quality that they hoped to achieve. The following 2 records, Faith, 1981, and the one with the title that I can't say, but Faith has that distinct flavour of goth, and that's another thing. By this time the group was seen as goth or doom and gloom because of the album's lyrics being very depressing. They even wrote a song based on Charlotte Sometimes, which became the track's title, but it was not on the record.
We cater for say, a certain aspect or a certain type of person, a certain aspect of their personality, which a lot of people subjugate through necessity because they have to either work or just generally work. I mean, there's no or. Once you start to work and life becomes a struggle for existence, which I mean in England is the most prevalent thing anyway.
Their 4th record had even more dark imagery as its theme, and the music had been even recorded darker. The album was seen as too dark for audiences, and the only single off the record was The Hanging Garden. 1983 was a break year, with only a few. These were Let's Go to Bed, which was obviously a pop song, Love Cats, which was a funky jazz sort of song. It was pretty good, which was also unfortunately and hilariously created, filmed, written and directed drunk. And finally we have The Walk, which was this new wave bop that was actually fun to listen to. But 1984 saw the return of the band, and Simon came back, even Pearl returned, and with a new drummer that meant Lowell became their pianist, what they created was The Top, and the single was The Caterpillar. Unfortunately, Andy left the group before the next album, which meant they had to find a new drummer again, and that became Boris Williams.
Give yourself as this person. So I thought playing with the Banshees would allow me to move off and be forgotten. I mean, obviously standing behind Sue, you are standing behind Sue. So I think musically, a lot of what I think would have gone into The Cure, I put into the Banshees, which left a sort of pop for The Cure to meddle with.
In 1985, A Head on the Door was released, with a single In Between Days, and the album became the band's first international record around the world, which also began their touring, which was filmed into a film called The Cure in Orange in 1986. So what were they going to do now? Well, that brings us to 1987, and Just Like Heaven becomes the band's most iconic song, and the album Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me is a massive success, so much so that France used the instrumental version of the track for their intro.
If we didn't make them, it wouldn't make any difference, I don't think, really, to how many records we sell. But it's nice for us to do so. I mean, it's just another form of entertainment for us, really. That's why we try and make them entertaining. We don't actually use them to make the group look good. You know, it's that they're there to be watched so that people can actually derive some enjoyment from them.
With their 1989 album becoming even more popular than any record they've created so far, with the amount of praise on their radar, what were they going to produce next?
As with everything that we do, once we've done it, I feel less like it. It's almost like it's an exorcism, so I feel more pieced together since we're more peaceful since we've made it.
Their 9th record, Wish. This album had even more hits, such as High and Friday My Love.
Wish. It doesn't really have a particular mood swing, or wild mood swings. It's a record that's you sort of like you finish listening to one song and the next song surprises you.
Takes you out from the into it.
So I think it's quite different to anything we've done for a while. It's probably close in feeling to The Head on the Door, if anything, in that it doesn't really have an overall feeling.
1996's Wild Mood Swings was, it was something alright. It had a bit of everything, which I liked, but some fans probably didn't like the fact that Boris was, like, recording drums, like machine drums. Bloodflowers, released in 2000, was good, but some felt it was a bit, angry. The self-titled album from 2004, The Cure, it was good, but a lot of people didn't like the fact that it was hard, like it was heavy. 2008's 14 Dream is actually pretty good. Some of the tracks on there are a bit boring and feel samey, I guess. But their newest release, Songs of a Lost World, man, that album was a banger. Like a full-on bop. Like, it's so good. So, The Cure's legacy is that they'll always be The Cure. No matter what style they choose, no matter what lyrics they write, no matter what the song's about, The Cure will always be, well, The Cure. Because let's face it, The Cure are just The Cure. Robert Smith said it himself the best. There is no label, we're just The Cure. No matter what we write, it'll be The Cure. And you know what? He's right. You shouldn't label music simply because you're in different genres all the time. If anything, the music should be just, well, the music. It doesn't really need to have a genre to explain itself. I know, right? Crazy. But The Cure, to me, they changed my life. I'm in a band, and we're making cracking songs, and we're having a hell of a time, and I don't think it'll ever stop. We'll just keep getting better, we'll keep reaching the top, and we'll be just as successful as The Cure. And maybe one day, who knows, maybe I'll meet Robert Smith. Who knows?